few months ago, Hambini passed his 100,000 subscriber mark, which is an absolutely awesome achievement. But in his sort of celebration video, he announced that he would like to get to the point where he was the UK's biggest manufacturer of bottom brackets, who are currently Hope. Now, we've been working with Hambini for a few months now. We've fitted his for a few years, probably fitted, I don't know, 20 or 30 of his bottom bracket. So this is a video of a Hope versus Hambini, a little bit of a reflection on some of our experience of working with both brands, and somewhat of an open letter to Hambini that you guys can all comment on below to see if we can get Hambini to that #1 spot. So I want to get started with Hope and what I see as Hope's major advantage that Hambini needs to overcome. And that is, first of all, really, really famous brand with a history steeped in UK mountain biking, going right back to possibly the 80s, definitely the 90s. A range of nice colours, and they are famous to have a really strong following for all those colours matching and looking pretty. They've definitely got a very motocross design ethic that just runs through all of their product lines. Now, the other thing is that they are slightly more expensive than the stock Shimano or race face that might come fitted with your bike. So they're kind of seen as a small luxury upgrade, something that you might treat yourself, but isn't necessarily a big extravagance. Now, I think in reality, I think most Hope bottom bracket owners would say that they don't really experience any sort of performance benefit, couldn't really tell the difference, but it's nice to have a bit of bling on your bike every now and then. For the most part, Hope use enduro bearings as well. So enduro bearings, if you follow this channel and the Hambini channel, you'll know that aren't the best quality, but they are very, very well known in the cycling industry. So as a consumer, you've probably got more of a brand awareness for Hope and enduro, and have built up some trust over the years just because of their existence and the marketing they have. The other thing I think that's really going for Hope is that their website has improved massively over the last few years, and their instructions and manuals and diagrams are absolutely fantastic. So just to give you a few examples of the PDFs that you can get, and imagine if you are a consumer home mechanic doing this in your own garage, and you want the information, these sort of diagrams are invaluable to the home mechanic. They tell you exactly what the part numbers are and where they're going to be fitted in exactly what order. You have tables like this where you can see exactly the shell width, exactly the model number of the bottom bracket you need, exactly the spaces that you need, and exactly whether it's going to be compatible or not. This sort of thing, I think, is really, really useful and kind of sets you apart, and it gives you the reassurance that your money is being spent on the right thing, and you're not going to be getting caught up in return processes and that sort of thing. The other thing they do is a fantastic set of instructions. Now, I know that Hambini has instructions, but when you have this printed out and you want to go and work in your garage, you don't necessarily want iPads and laptops around to follow a video and scroll through. Having step-by-step diagrams, any language, I think is a real pro for Hope. There's something they really, really have got right, and getting this sorted. As a home mechanic, somebody who's installing this at home, that gives you an awful lot of confidence that you're using the right grease, the right tools, the right torque settings in a really simple to understand document. That to me is a big plus on Hope's side. A quick downside on Hope is that you need some really crazy proprietary tools. So if you are using their standard BSA ones, they actually use a different tool system than the rest of the world use, and you've got to use one of those. It's just a pressed steel thing. It's not great quality. I didn't bring it up with me. And if you're using their press fit, they actually do a thread together, and you need to use a special tool. In fact, we gave up on that tool a long time ago and just invested in some really, really large hex bolts that go on the end of sockets, which work a hell of a lot easier. But you still have got to invest in something that you probably don't have just as a home mechanic. So Hambini, on the other hand, now this is a little collection of his bottom brackets, and when you handle a Hambini bottom bracket, there is absolutely no doubt in your mind it is a quality product. When you touch it, feel it, spin it, hold it in your hand, the surface finish is absolutely beautiful. The precision is fantastic. So for instance, this is his titanium bottom bracket, and it is an absolute work of art. And you don't want to fit it to your bike. You just sort of want to play with it in your hands because it's such a beautifully made thing. One of the things he's got going against them is that right now they are just plain black colors. There is no branding on here at all. There's no way really to identify that you are rolling a Hambini bottom bracket. Even things like Sea Bear would have some, a little bit of etching or rotor or something. That's the one thing I think, if you are going to invest in a bit of bling, sometimes you kind of want to see it. So maybe some laser etching of a little squirrel on here would be fantastic, or maybe even just doing a bright orange version would be pretty cool thing. I do feel like it needs a little bit of branding. I mean, BB Infinite do it. I think there's yeah, I'd quite like to see maybe the Hambini logo or something on there. I think it's important, because imagine submitting your bike to the GCN Bike Vault or talking about it in a cafe, and you want that Hambini bottom bracket moment. Nice. Hate to say it, but that is kind of how a brand grows in popularity and kudos, is by being noticed on people's bikes. The other thing with these is that they're very much considered at the moment, I think, by pro bike mechanics and home mechanics as being a problem solver, i.e. you're experiencing bottom bracket creaking or noise or premature bearing wear, and you're exasperated, you're frustrated with it, and you discover Hambini, and it's like, I'm going to spend a lot of money on this and it's going to solve my problem and it's going to stop it creaking. Now, that isn't really a mass market kind of a problem. It's only going to be a very small niche. And that's where I think, if you really want to take on hope, we need to get to the point where it's not just seen as a problem solver, but it's seen as a high quality upgrade. I think that's a hurdle that's going to be key for him to cross. One small thing on this while we're here is Hambini tends to use NTN bearings, and we buy NTN bearings from Hambini like this so that we can replace them when we need to. When you hold these in your hand, there's no doubt that these spin beautifully. This, in contrast, is an Enduro 6806 bearing, and you can instantly feel the difference in the seal drag. This is what we're familiar with cyclists, where this is the NTN bearing. So I'll come on to this in a second, because this might be a way that we can save costs. I don't know. Okay, the next thing for me is probably the level of instructions that you get with Hambini. And there's no doubt the support section on his website is phenomenal. It is very technical, very detailed. It is a massive source of education for mechanics and home mechanics, and it's very, very much appreciated. All the information you want is there. It's not in a very easy to digest format like the Hope one. It takes a little bit of hunting, reading through and understanding certain things, but it is definitely comprehensive, that's for sure. When it actually comes to buying a bottom bracket, I think there's a lot that he can do to make it easier, maybe some drop down menus to make sure that, yes, this is the frame type that you have, this is the bottom bracket you need, this is the spacer kit that you need, and be really reassured that you're buying the right thing. At the moment, I think a lot of you are just reaching out to him, asking those questions, and he's replied and giving you guys great advice. But I think as he wants to get bigger and bigger, having a way that consumers can do that without needing to interact is going to be a massive advantage to him. The tools you actually need to install a bottom bracket from Hambini are actually pretty simple. Most bike shops will have them. It's just a simple press tool. And again, you can pick these up from AliExpress relatively cheaply. And actually, when you buy a Hambini bottom bracket, he supplies the drift kit, etc. with it as well. And you can pick up the removal tools fairly cheaply. So compared to Hope, this is a massive advantage in just how simple they are. I do think it would be a massive advantage if he produced a fit kit, especially for home mechanics. Maybe it included a simple go, no-go gauge, maybe just a plastic one, because it's only going to be used 1 or 2 times, with a drift, with a removal kit, and possibly a little vial of retaining compound, a bit like BB Infinite do. They do a little kit. When you get it, you get all of this in the packet, and you get that little vial of Loctite, and you get like a little paper instructions and stuff like that. So as a consumer, you get this really reassuring feel that you've got everything you need in front of you, ready to go into your garage, you've got your press kit, and you can just do the job. The service he provides at the moment is fantastic. If you order from him, he's actually got it in stock, which is a problem he has at the moment. It turns up super fast and really nicely packaged. Maybe not in branded packaging, but it's all well wrapped and protected from the postman's antics. So while we're here and having this discussion, let's talk through some of the fitting complications that we have with Hambini and how other brands solve them, because it's kind of interesting. I'm not saying that these are right and he's wrong, but I think there's some interesting stuff here that hopefully you guys will take on board, add to the comments, and just hopefully create a better experience for all of us. So one of the problems that we have with Hambini, mostly with SRAM cranksets actually, is all of his stuff with Shimano works perfectly. I've never had a problem with anything fitting Shimano or BB30 for that matter. Most of the problems we have is when it comes to fitting SRAM Dove. And I think that's because they do a few different varieties. His website is a little bit out of date with some of the different standards relating to dub and dub wide, etc. And he actually suggests that you've got to use the SRAM Fit Kit for adjusting all the chain line, etc. So SRAM make this little kit. It's a whole bunch of spacers essentially. But the problem with this is that they are designed to fit with SRAM bottom brackets. And if you've ever seen a SRAM bottom bracket, they have like a little lip just here. And all of these spacers are designed to interact with the bottom bracket. They don't necessarily interact with the axle. So when you slide this over, there's still significant amount of play. So when we've used these before with Hambini bottom brackets, like he suggests on his website, we've not had a great experience. One, because the actual dimensions here are measured without that little lip. So that little lip is going to click into the bottom bracket. So you have to add another millimeter of space or remove it. And also they wobble. And as they wobble, they pick up grease, and we've actually had one of these just snap in the past, leaving the entire crank wobbling backwards and forwards. So, okay, it's not a Hambini problem, but I think it is a problem that Hambini could solve to make his bottom brackets much more appealing to SRAM owners, especially, because I think probably SRAM owners that probably need his help the most. So how this is solved by other brands is they tend to provide lots and lots of instructions and spacers and shims and stuff that we can work with. So this is Rotor, for instance. They have a little booklet in here, which is really comprehensive, and it tells you exactly what type of spacer to use where. And in the box, you get a whole bunch of, 1 millimeter, 0.5 millimeter, 2 millimeter spacers. So it's just all there. It's ready to go. You don't need to buy anything extra. Another good example, and something that Hambini is frequently compared to, is wheels manufacturing. And again, just that little extra convenience of having a shim pack, which means if we do have any issues with the DCBL, the distance between crank arms, on here, we can adjust it very easily. We don't have to go looking for other parts. It's all in the box, and we can just make those little 0.5 millimeter adjustments as we need to go. So I just think it's that whole delivering a complete package for the end user. They undo it. They've got everything they need: instructions, tools, shims. It's just going to be a good experience from start to finish. There's not going to be any frustrations. I think once he has that ironed out, the world is almost his oyster, because there is just one more thing that is probably the biggest problem, and that is the cost. Now, I do not want Hambini to compromise on his quality or his precision, but I do think if he's going to ever beat Hope or become a lot more mainstream, then cost has got to be considered somewhere. And I do wonder whether the one thing we want from a Hambini bottom bracket is we want it to be quiet and durable. And I do wonder if there is a solution out there where we could sacrifice this beautiful, smooth running end-to-end bearing for something that still gives us durability, but at a price point that might deliver us a Hambini experience for, I don't know, about £150. I think that would be the magic sweet spot for a nice little upgrade, as opposed to an extravagant expense to solve a problem. There we go. That's just me sharing my thoughts. Now it's your turn. Get down into the comments, add to the discussion. I really want to see British manufacturing do well and really promote high quality precision engineering. And if we can make that available to more people to enjoy, then that's the purpose of the comments. Get down there. Now's a chance. Make your voice heard. Right, till the next one, take it easy.